Devaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidiyayet. Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 38, Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan. Text 26 onwards. Tad darshanalad vibrit sambrama premnor dharo ma shrukala kulekshana rathadavaskandya sacheteshu acheshtata prabhor munyangrir chansyaho iti. Increasingly agitated by ecstasy at seeing the Lord's footprints, his bodily hairs standing on end because of his pure love, and his eyes filled with tears, Akrura jumped down from his chariot and began rolling about among those footprints, exclaiming, "Ah, this is the dust from my master's feet." So this is so much of ecstasy just looking at the lotus feet imprints of Krishna on the ground. Deham bhrita miyanartho hitva dambham bhiyam shucham sandeshadyo harerelinga darshana shravana adibhi. The very goal of life for all embodied beings is this ecstasy, which Akrura experienced when upon receiving Kamsa's order, he put aside all pride, fear, and lamentation and absorbed himself in seeing, hearing, and describing the things that reminded him of Lord Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Akrura gave up fear by openly showing his love and reverence for Krishna, even though he or his family might have been punished by the angry Kamsa. Akrura gave up his pride in being an aristocratic member of society and worshipped the cowherd residents of the simple village of Vrindavan. And he gave up lamenting for his house, wife, and family, which were in danger from King Kamsa. Giving up all these things, he rolled in the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is what Krishna, where Krishna tests us, how much surrender is there. What are we attached to? Are we attached to our pride, our fear, our lamentation, our whatever material position? Are we attached to it, or we are attached to serving Krishna? Dadarsha Krishnam Ramam cha braje godo hanam gato pita nilambaradharo sharadambura ahekshano kishoro shyamala shveto shri niketo brihad bhujao sumukho sundarvaro balad virad vikramo dhvaj vajrang kushambho jesh chinitar angri bhir vrajam शोभयन्तो महात्मानो सानुक्रोश स्मितेक्षणो उदार रुचिर क्रीडो स्रगविणो वनमालिनो पुण्यगन्धानुलिप्तांगो स्नातो विरजवाससो प्रधान पुरुषावाद्यो जगद्धेतु जगत्पति अवतीर्णो जगत्यर्थे स्वांशेन बलकेशो दिशो विति मराराजन कुर्वाणो प्रभया स्वया यथा मार्कथा शैलो रोप्यश्च कनकाचितो. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balram in the village of Braj, going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. One of those two mighty armed youths, the shelters of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, and the other's was white. With their fine-featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As he walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, these two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet. which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goat, and lotus. The two lords whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive were ornamental with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands, anointed with auspicious, fragrant substances, freshly bathed and dressed in spotless raiment. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in the distinct form of Keshav and Balaram. O King Parikshit, they resembled two gold-bedecked mountains, one of emerald and the other of silver. As with their effulgence, they dispelled the sky's darkness in all directions. Beautifully described Krishna and Balram, and this is how Akrura saw them. Now, many times, because this is how it's been portrayed in the serials and written in the books. Well, yes, Nanda Baba he had lots of cows. He's a Vaishya. And Krishna and Balram are his sons, and they had cows in their home. There was a cow shed. But one place I was reading, the description of the palace of Nanda Maharaj in Nandagaon. Oh, well, Krishna, obviously, he's the husband of goddess of fortune. Thousands and thousands of Lakshmis are serving him. And that description showing that palace, it was good enough to put to shame anybody, any king's palace also. That's how opulent Nanda Baba's palace was. People just don't show it properly. They think, oh, he's a cowherd man, so he must be living very poorly. No. It's described how big this palace was and how every room was bedecked with diamond and emeralds and rubies and so on and so forth. Ratha Turnam Avaplutya Suakrura Sneh Vivala Abata Charano Pante Dandavad Rama Krishnayo. Akrura, overwhelmed with affection, quickly jumped down from his chariot and fell at the feet of Krishna and Balram like a rod. So he paid obeisance with Dandavat, Rama Krishnayo. Bhagavad Darshanalada Vashva Parya Kulekshana Kulak Chittanga Otkantya Swakhyane Nashakan Nripa. The joy of seeing the Supreme Lord flooded Akrura's eyes with tears and decorated his limbs with eruptions of ecstasy. He felt such eagerness that he could not speak to present himself, O king. Bhagwanstam avipretya rathanga kittapanina parirebe abhi upakrishya prita pranata vatsalahan. Recognizing Akrura, Lord Krishna drew him close with his hand, which bears a sign of the chariot wheel, then embraced him. Krishna felt pleased, for he is always benignly disposed towards his surrendered devotees. According to the Acharyas, by extending his hand marked with the chariot wheel or chakra, Lord Krishna indicated his ability to kill Kansa. So Akrurji must be thinking, Kansa is such a big demon, a huge, powerful king. And these two boys, they are so soft, so beautiful, they're so charming. They don't look very strong. How are they going to kill Kansa? But Krishna showed the chakra in his hand just to give satisfaction to Akrura. Sankarshanascha pranatam upaguya mahatmana grihitva panina pani anyat sanujo griham prishtavatha swagatam tasmai nivedya chavarasanam prakshalya vidhivat pado madhu park araharanam aharat. As Akrura stood with his head bowed, Lord Sankarshan Balram grasped his joined hands And then Balram took him to his house in the company of Lord Krishna. After inquiring from Akrura whether his trip had been comfortable, Lord Balram offered him a first-class seat, bathed his feet in accordance with the injunctions of scriptures, and respectfully served him milk with honey. Nivedya gam chatitya samvaya shrantam adritah annam bahu gunam medhyam shraddhayopa aharad vibhu. The Almighty Lord Balram presented Akrura with the gift of a cow, massaged his feet to relieve him of fatigue, and then with great respect and faith fed him suitably prepared food of various fine tastes. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Akrura went to Krishna and Balram's house on the 12th lunar day, on which one should not break a fast at night. However, Akrura dispensed with this formality because he was eager to receive food in the Lord's house. So somehow he went there on Dwadashi day. Because on Ekadashi, Krishna killed Vimasura and Keshi. And next day, Akruraji came. So, Tasmai Bhaktavate Pritya Rama Paramadharmavit Makhva Saragandha Malya Param Pritim Vidhat Punah. When Akrura had eaten to his satisfaction, Lord Balram, the supreme knower of religious duties, offered him aromatic herbs for sweetening his mouth, along with fragrances and flower garlands. Thus Akrura once again enjoyed the highest pleasure. Can you imagine Krishna and Balram himself serving somebody? Wonderful service that night, wonderful welcome was that. Papricha Satkritam Nanda Katham Sthas Nir Anugriha Kanse Jivati Dasharha Sonupala Ivavaya. Nanda Maharaj asked Akrura, or descendant of Dasharha, how are all of you maintaining yourself while that merciless Kansa remains alive? You are just like sheep under the care of a butcher. Yovdhita swaswa sustalokan kroshanteha asu tripkla kimno svitat prajanam kushlam vimreshamahe. That cruel, self-serving Kansa murdered the infants of his own sister in her presence, even as she cried in anguish. So why should we even ask about the well-being of you, his subjects? So self-serving Kansa. This is how big a monarch he was. He was not taking care of the population. He was only taking care of himself. Itham sunritya vacha nandensu sabhajitaha akrura parikrishtena jaha vadva parishramam. Honored by Nanda Maharaj with these true and pleasing words of inquiry, Akrura forgot the fatigue of his journey. So thus ends the 10th canto, 38th chapter, purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Akrura's Arrival in Vrindavan. So we can start the new chapter, chapter 39, entitled Akrura's Vision. Next one. Shri Shukavacha Sukhopapavishta Padyanke Ramakrishno Umanitaha Lebhe Manorathan Sarvan Patiyan Sachakaraha. Shukdev Goswami said, having been honored so much by Lord Balram and Lord Krishna, Akrura, seated comfortably on a couch, felt that all the desires he had contemplated on the road were now fulfilled. Kim labhyam bhagavati prasanne shri niketane tathapi tatpara rajan nahi vanchanti kinchana. My dear king, what is unattainable for one who has satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the shelter of the Goddess of Fortune? Even so, those who are dedicated to his devotion service never want anything from him. So, what is unattainable for one who has satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the shelter of the Goddess of Fortune? So, although Nanda Maharaj was asking him about his welfare, his family, and everybody, but he has already pleased the Supreme Lord. So, nothing is unattainable for Akrura and for all the devotees also. We are trying to serve the Lord, and if He is satisfied to whatever extent by a little bitty service, nothing remains for us to achieve. There's nothing else remains. And how do we know He is satisfied? Prabhupada explained, Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. If we are following Prabhupada's instructions, if we are serving Prabhupada properly, Prabhupada's instructions properly, definitely He will be satisfied. Sayanta nashanam kritva bhagwan devaki sutaha surit suratam kansasya paparachani achikirshatam. After the evening meal, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, asked Akrura how Kansa was treating their dear relatives and friends and what the king was planning to do. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Tat Somya Gatah Kachit Swagatam Bhadramastu Vaha Api Swagyati Bandhunam Anamiva Manamayam. The Supreme Lord said, My dear gentle uncle Akrura, was your trip here comfortable? May all good fortune be yours. Are our well-wishing friends and our relatives, both close and distant, happy and in good health? Kimnu na kushlam prache edhamane kulame kanse matulan namnanga swanam nastat prajasucha. But my dear Akrura, as long as King Kansa, the disease of our family, goes by the name Eternal Uncle, is still prospering, why should I even bother to ask you about the well-being of our family members and his other subjects? So as long as Kansa is living, nobody can be happy. Aho asmad bhud bhuri pitror vrajin maryayo yadhetu putra maranam yadhetur bandhanam tayo. Just see how much suffering I have caused my offenseless parents. Because of me, their sons were killed and they themselves imprisoned. Because Kansa had heard a prophecy that the eighth son of Devaki would kill him, he tried to kill all her children. For the same reason, he imprisoned her and her husband, Vasudeva. Dishtiyadya darshanam swanam mayam va somya kanchitam sanjatam varnyatam tata tvagaman karanam. By good fortune, we have today fulfilled our desire to see you, our dear relative. O gentle uncle, please tell us why you have come. Shri Shukavacha, Prishtu Bhagavata Sarvam, Varnayama Sumatava, Vairanu Bandham Yadushu, Vasudeva, Avadhodhyamam. Shukdev Goswami said, in response to the Supreme Lord's request, Akrura, the descendant of Madhu, described the whole situation, including King Kansa's enmity towards the Yadus and his attempt to murder Vasudeva. Yat sandesho yadartham va duta sampreshitah swayam yaduktam narade nasya swajanam anakadundubhe. Akrura relayed the message he had been sent to deliver. He also described Kansa's real intentions and how Narad had informed Kansa that Krishna had been born as a son of Vasudeva. So those who don't understand Lord Narad Muni's position, they'll just misunderstand. Why did he go to Kansa and tell him that Krishna has already been born and he is living in Vrindavan? Narad Muni cannot do anything that is against devotion service to Krishna. He just doesn't do. He's just a very, very exalted devotee. He's the spiritual master of the whole universe, actually. So he does this to expedite, to speed up pastimes of Krishna. Shrutva krura vachah Krishno balascha paraviraha prahasya nandam pitaram ragya dishtam vijagyatuhu. Lord Krishna and Lord Balram, the vanquisher of heroic opponents, laughed when they heard Akrura's words. The Lord then informed their father, Nanda Maharaj of King Kansa's orders. Gopana samadishat swapi griyatam sarvagorasaha upayanani granidvam yujyantam shakatani cha yasyama shvo madhupurim dasyama nripate drasam rakshyama sumahat parva yanti janapada kila evam aghosh yat shatra nanda gopa swagokule. Nand Maharaj then issued orders to the cowherd men by having the village constable make the following announcement throughout Nanda's domain of Raja. Go collect all the available milk products, bring valuable gifts and yoke your wagons. Tomorrow we shall go to Mathura, present our milk products to the king and see a very great festival. The residents of all the outlying districts are also going. Nanda wanted to bring ghee and other milk products as taxes for the king. See, if Akrurji had come and he would only requested Krishna and Balram to come with him, definitely there would have been big resistance by Nand Maharaj, Yashoda Maiya, Gopis, Gopas, and everybody. There's no way they would have said, we can let Krishna and Balram go alone. So this whole thing was created. Krishna and Balram knew what they're going to do, but everybody else thought, oh, we are going to see a great festival, and also it's the king's order, we have to go. So Nand Baba, Krishna Balram, all the cowherd men and the boys, they said, we'll all go. Only the ladies stayed back. Gopyastastat upshrutya babhuvur vyauthita bhrasham Ramakrishnom purim netum akruram brajamagatam. When the young gopis heard that Akrura had come to Vraja to take Krishna and Balram to the city, they became extremely distressed. Now that was a big problem about these gopis. Kashit tatkrita hritapa shwasamalan mukhashvya sansad udukula valay kesha granthiyashcha kashchana. Some gopis felt so pained at heart that their faces turned pale from their heavy breathing. Others were so anguished that their dresses, bracelets, and braids became loose. Anyasya tad anudhyana nivrittashesha vrittaya nabhya janan imam lokam atma lokam gataiva. Other gopis entirely stopped their sensory activities and became fixed in meditation on Krishna. They lost all awareness of their external world, just like those who attain the platform of self-realization. The gopis were in fact already on the platform of self-realization. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas. The self or individual soul is an eternal servant of Krishna. Thus, because they were rendering the most intense loving service to the Lord, the gopis were situated at the highest stage of self-realization. But they just lost everything. They could not think of anything. They just stood there thinking only of Krishna. Smarantyascha parashores anuraga smitaterita hridhi sprishas chitrapada gira samo moho striyaha. And still other young women fainted simply by remembering the words of Lord Shauri, Krishna. These words, decorated with wonderful phrases and expressed with affectionate smiles, would deeply touch the young girls' hearts. Gatim lalitam cheshtam snigdha hasavalokanam shokapahani narmani prodam acharitani cha chintayantyo mukundasya bhita viraha kataraha sameta sankasha prochur ashru mukyo achyutashaya. The gopis were frightened at the prospect of even the briefest separation from Lord Mukunda. So now, as they remembered his graceful gait, his pastimes, his affectionate, smiling glances, his heroic deeds with his joking words, which would relieve their distress, they were beside themselves with anxiety at thought of the great separation about to come. They gathered in groups and spoke to one another, their faces covered with tears and their minds fully absorbed in Achyut. So we studied when during Ras Leela when Krishna left them, and even after gopis in separation in the daytime when they could not see Krishna, they were always talking of him. And now he is about to leave Vrindavan and go to Mathura. Now this is even bigger separation. They didn't know when he's going to return, when he's going to come back. So we can only understand what these gopis must be going through. And not just young gopis, even Yashoda Maya, all other elder gopis also, they must be going through. Krishna is about to leave Vrindavan. So I guess we'll stop here and tomorrow we'll take it up further. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Lord Krishna's name Vasudev and Vasudev, his father Vasudev. Why, Prabhuji, it creates a confusion, when we pronounce the name Vasudev and Vasudev.
So Vasudev is a father and he is son of Vasudev, so he's called Vasudev.
Oh, that's why Vasudev.
But there are other meanings of Vasudev also. This is one of the meanings.
That creates a kind of confusion, there is a R in between that shabd, that word is there. So
yeah. So Vasudev with no with small is father and Vasudev is Krishna. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Radha.
Hare Krishna.